Flight attendants prepare for departure, cross-check and all call, thank you.
All right, we've got everyone strapped in. Give us a ring if you need anything.
Captain, we are freezing in the cabin.
Ha! What a way to start the stream. Right. Welcome everybody. Hello Rob, hello Dave. Just reading from the top, sorry, the bottom down, not any particular reason. This is how my eyes went. And I'm talking to Zibo in the background here, and he's just supplied me with 7A. Ha! So guess what we're gonna do? I hope this explain shuts down properly this time. Been having ever since I yeah, there we go. It froze the computer on the way out and now it's standing still. Ever since I updated this version to 8.3 or the RC3 of X-Plane, it's been doing this. It just doesn't want to die. And there it works, just as I'm complaining. Guys, I hope you had a good day. I had a really awesome day. I had a lot of work, accomplished quite a bit. I got both cars sorted out that needed attention. So it was all in all a good day. And to get a nice fix to test is a bonus now. So I just need to quickly download it and install it. Right, sorry, before I continue, let's close that screen over there. Hallo Geert, welkom. Andy, if you're watching, if you are on the stream, you're welcome to join me in this room. I see you sitting upstairs in Discord, so you're welcome to pop in here if you want to, if you don't mind. I just don't want to drag you and then you had no intention of coming and sitting here, so that's why I'm not dragging you. Make sure that thing updated. Right, so that should be 7.1 when we boot in. We're going to make sure the update went smoothly. Hey Andy, cool. Right, so let's fire up Explain again. Andy, are you on voice or not?
Do you hear me, Nico?
I hear you now. I noticed that you were muted on the server. Now, I didn't do that. I don't know who did that, but I quickly changed the settings. So you are live on air now. We can hear you.
I hear you. I'm not sure I have. I see you on Skymatix on YouTube.
It should be running. Let me just double check. Let's go to live. Yep, I'm live. I am there. I'm definitely there. Just try the main screen. Otherwise, I mean, if you look in stream announcements, if you click on that link, just 2 rooms up. If you click on that link, you should get to the live video. Yeah, it's live. It's definitely on. Google is complaining. It says that it's not receiving enough data, so it will do its best to keep the transmission going. That's not a good sign. Man, I hope I don't lose you guys halfway. Bus driver, hello. Rob, what are you saying? They did no, at the passes, did not. Well, Rob, I don't know if that was a bug. It sounds like a bug because let me also copy the new changelog here that Zibo gave me. He says in this version, this new one that I've just installed, he changed a few things. So I'm going to post everything for you just now. Give me a second. Let me just start this thing. Then what we want to do is edit. So we want to say 7.1 non-public, and then we want to say the fix bugs thing, and then we want to quickly copy that into the stream so you don't have to go into the show notes to get that. 7.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, Antonio?
Fine, you.
Also good. Got a new version of Zibo to quickly do.
Huh?
I've got a new
And
version.
at home?
Yeah, all good, thanks. And you?
Yeah.
Right, so that's the change log. Pin message. Wrong thing to do there. Hang on a second, let me check this. No point in me talking porkies. 7.1a. Right, I sent you a message, Antonio.
Pushback failure. Aircraft appears to not have any steerable gears.
Right. I think it's something for everybody, but looking at what happened on Discord earlier, I think Zibo was watching with one eye on what was happening on Discord. I have not been to the forums. I'm not sure how much of that was shared on the forum, but definitely in Discord. So. Right. So, gentlemen, come on, drop your nonsense, you silly thing.
I
And
am
just
ready
get
for
this thing
electrical
stowed.
power
Make
up
sure it's
procedure.
off screen and not bothering us again. Okay. So, one of the reasons I test fly this thing is so that we have a record of what it does for me. Okay. And then we can compare what it does to you, and then you can give us the relevant information of what's different. What did you do different? And so we build the scenario and the profile up of how you got what you got while I did not get it, kind of a thing. So make notes, guys. If you want to help test this thing, please make sure we want the correct version of the Zibo, the actual version, not the words latest version means nothing because we are usually 3 or 4 or 5 versions ahead of you. So we just sit there looking at each other confused when you use terminology like that. So give actual versions. Tell us the weather engine that you're using. Tell us the exact version of X-Plane that you're using. Make it interesting for us and able for us to actually go and maybe test fly what you're talking about. Your scenario, altitude, speed, weight, waypoint, runway, whatever, I see too often, especially on Facebook, the guys say, oh, my aircraft did up and down. like oscillation. Okay? And what must I do about it? Mine does not do that. So what did you do? How did you get there? Can you replicate it? Can you tell me the steps to follow to get the same results as you are doing? Those kind of things. You guys must please try and help us help you with that kind of stuff.
Hello.
Hello. Hoe gaan het? How are you?
All good, you?
Oh, good, Sasa.
Yeah.
So I just got this new version. Oh yes, I said I wanted to check that it's the correct one, 7A. Yes, it is. Alright, so
7.1.
yeah, 1A, yes.
Yeah.
Right, so that is done.
Ground flight deck hose is connected and
Dave, but it shouldn't be a determining factor, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't mention it, because who knows, you might be right. You see, I'm not discrediting it in the slightest. All I'm saying is, it shouldn't. So that brings us to, what's the difference? Why? We once had a situation where the longer you flew, there was a stress factor that was building up in the airframe, okay? And what happened was the people would land, and then when they do a replay, the aircraft would burst in flame. It was because of that stress factor that was increasing. And that can build up over time, and that's the kind of thing we need to know. So we need to know, yes, it was at 3 hours and 10 minutes kind of a thing, and then Zibo can look at what's building up, what pressures, what has happening, so we'll have to see. Hello, Alex. There's a first time for everything, I tell you. You've got to have hair on your chest when you're a beta tester. How are you doing, Sasa? What are you up to? You busy at work? Are you on holiday now?
No holiday, but I'm at home. I had a simulator session this morning. I'm gonna have 2 more sessions tomorrow and the day after.
Okay.
And then hopefully a little bit of a break for Christmas.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the plan at least.
Sounds good.
We'll see.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's always nice when I have. Oh, I got 2 more guys from South Africa. Yeah, CRJ 900 and Beechcraft 1900.
Okay.
It's nice. Lots of new feedback as well.
Okay.
Very nice.
The guy on the CRJ, his name isn't Reinhardt, is it?
No.
Because my buddy Reinhardt went to do his course at Lufthansa, and now I'm thinking, what happened?
No.
Maybe he moved. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't spoken to him since he's gone over.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No.
Thank you, Dave. That's nice. Hello, Gilbert. Good evening. Yeah. Right, so I think that thing is loading and we can continue our side. We don't want to waste too much time. Sasa, I want to send you something. It's just for you and me.
Okay.
So you'll see when you see what it is. You can't discuss this in public. So
Roger.
I need to send this to you.
Roger, boss.
There you go. Oh, and in the mod room, the other accompanying thing is in the mod room. Just check the last post I made in the moderator room as well.
Yeah, let me check.
Alex, I've actually had dinner already, so I'm perfectly fine. I'm sorry if it interferes with your guys' dinner on the other side of the screen, but if I can make a suggestion, eat on your lap, kick your feet up, relax, enjoy the ride. If your missus or girlfriend will allow that, anyway. let's quickly see. The 9 finals. Yeah, enjoy your breakfast, Dave. So, man. Yeah. Stuff happens, man. No, Dave. I was not planning on doing an actual non-public test flight, and as my notice went live on Discord that I'm doing a test flight, Zibo sent me a PM and he said that he's just put the new one in the private dev room and we can, you know, put that up for you guys. So here I am. Things change here at the heck of a rapid pace. Right, I'm going to leave that in because that's a weird turn that we're looking at there. So, yeah.
Where are you flying, Nico?
I am flying from Oklahoma to St. Louis in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys have got weird ways of doing things. We're not used to this kind of flight planning that they do in the US. Strange, you know? So many vectors, many sets start off airport, like
Captain,
some more like
we are
23
freezing in the
miles
cabin.
away. The sit only starts. It's weird. We're not used to that. All right, I'm going to leave that one as well. We'll fix it when we get there. So anyway.
In the States, they treat pilots as adults, and instead in Europe, we treat pilots as children.
Oh.
Oops.
I don't know, man. Tero, I started the flight. It was planned for 7.0 to see what you guys were on about. Because, man, you guys rocked up a storm here, eh? So anyway, that was the whole point. And then as I started the stream, Zibo noticed and he said, no, wait, let's do this one. Yeah, George Walker, that is one of the creators of some of my liveries. And it's been a while since I actually sat down and thought who made which livery. This is not one of his. But he made a whole bunch of Skymatix liveries. He's actually from in the area, not the exact St. Louis city, but he's in the state, so to speak. You know? All right, so that's done.
Flight attendants prepare for departure, cross-check and all call, thank you.
All right, we've got everyone strapped in. Give us a ring if you need anything.
Thank you, Trish.
Ready for pre-flight procedure. Trim up.
No.
Captain, we are freezing in the cabin.
Ach, I'm sorry. We'll sort you out quick.
Board boarding door has been closed. Once again, we gained all the passengers to remain seated at this time. Please double check the security of your seatbelt. All electronic devices will need to be turned off and put away at this time. This doesn't hit all cellular phones and two-way features. Flight attendants, please prepare your doors for departure and cross-check.
Sasso,
Yeah.
while you are here, I'm just using my imagination, but what do you guys do in the real world as you walk up to this aircraft and it's freezing and you know the passengers can't get on because they're going to die of the cold? How do you warm it up? What's the normal procedures in the real world to get, warmth in the cabin?
Start the APU,
Yeah.
2 minutes, and then APU bleed on.
Ah, okay. Would it have any value if I use the air starter unit instead of the APU?
I don't know. The air starter unit just gonna bring air into the bleed,
Okay.
but the actual APU bleed is much better.
Because it comes
Also
from an
remember
engine,
that-
actually, Yeah.
Yeah, the air start is an air start. It's just to start the engine. It's not gonna be there unless you get air conditioning. In that case, it's something different. Air
Yes,
conditioning means plugged air, actual air conditioning coming, I don't know, from the jet bridge, for instance. In that case, you will have to put the pack to off because the air conditioning will go directly into the flow, will be connected below the aircraft, just below basically the main landing gear in the middle. And from there, it will go straight into the system, into the air conditioning system. But you cannot control the temperature in this case. You will have to accept whatever temperature you have. So the best option would be start the APU, wait 2 minutes. As soon as you have the APU available, put it on bus.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you have 2 minutes, you can have the APU bleed on. Actually, what we tend to do, we tend to leave the ground power on bus to provide electricity to the aircraft, but we have to run the APU just for the APU bleed. In this way, you will have a little bit less of fuel consumption.
Okay, but in
because
the
APU,
we don't worry about fuel consumption. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Of course. I mean, it will work even in the sim. If you still keep the ground power as a source of electricity, now I'm not looking at the cockpit, I cannot see the cockpit here, but if you look, let's say,
Captain, we are freezing
at the
in the cabin.
APU, you can still have, you can still have the ground power connected,
of course.
Okay, the APU available, but the blue light there means, my dear friend, I'm here, I'm not working for you. I'm not doing anything in terms of electricity. Because remember that is the electricity panel. But if you go and put the APU bleed on, as you just did, you can see that the valve there, the duct pressure will go up. But you need to have the pack to auto to have some flow of air into the system. So now air conditioning is going to come into the fuselage. You can organize the temperature by moving the 3 nozzle there. Yeah, that's the plan. So then, oh no, don't do that. You are gonna burn the pack. Maximum O. The variation is gonna be between AUT. So above there is written auto. So what we tend to do, we put the left one over A.
Where's A?
Over alpha. alpha of
There.
auto.
There.
That's it.
Yeah.
Then with the second one into U, and the other one to T. That's what we used to say. That's what we used to do. These were quite good with new aircraft, with new pack system. With the old aircraft, it's going to be a bloody mess, but that's another story.
Okay, well, I can see it's rising already. Okay, so the trick here that I did not do is I didn't put the packs in auto.
Oh yeah, you need the packs to on auto.
Yeah, you can immediately hear the airflow happening, you know, so yeah.
Yeah. You want to have the pressurization system and the air system configured as normal. The APU bleed now will flow into the left pack, and because the isolation valve into open, you want the isolation valve into open, so it will flow as well to the right side, will provide bleed to the left and right side of the manifold.
Okay. Now, but the reason I'm asking you this is Mr. Antonio that's here with us. Hello, Antonio.
Hey.
He wrote this very nice, actually, I kind of like it, script that actually measures the temperature in the cabin, and then you hear the person tell you, Captain, we're freezing at the back.
No, bloody hell, I love this thing.
Yeah, you must get it. It's so cool. And he wrote us a little script to make the rain on the windscreen better. Zibo fixed something on the wipers itself, but he never worked on the rain and rain effect, so Antonio just quickly made a script for that too. So now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking,
Captain, we are freezing in the cabin.
Do you hear? Did you hear?
Yeah, I'm freezing or something.
Yeah, freezing in the cabin. You know, so it's all these small little thingies that's coming together now. You know, so
yeah, of course, yeah. I remember for Flight Simulator 2004 there was something called FS Passenger.
Yes.
And it was basically creating the kind of passenger atmosphere. It was fun.
Yeah, I miss FS Passengers, but we still use some of their phraseology here on this channel and in Skymatix, you know, like something went wrong, but fortunately you had an exceptional pilot on board. They used to give you stories like that when you saved the day. Anyway, right. Hello, John McPherson. Welcome.
Sasso.
Go.
No, I want just to ask if in those airports where you have rules about APU, there are amendments in cold weather.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can start it earlier of 10 minutes, for example.
Yeah, that one is not gonna create any problem. When the temperature is like minus 20 degrees, it's like they either gonna provide you with air conditioning connected directly to the aircraft. In that case, what you have to do, you have to have the packs off to avoid back pressure, because they're going to connect the air conditioning below the aircraft, and this is going to go directly into the air system. Okay, so you don't have to have the packs to auto. In other cases, when the air conditioning is not provided, let's imagine Italy with 35 degrees at 2 in the afternoon on a summer day, then forget the rules about the APU. I'm going to start the APU because I need to keep the cabin cooled down. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. And also what you can do if it's really cold or really warm, you can do the single pack operation during the engine start. In other words, initially to start the first engine number 2, you're going to have both pack to off and the APU bleed to on as a normal start. After engine number 2 is stable, you can have the right pack to auto, the isolation valve to close, and in this way there will be a bit of flow, bit of air conditioning from the right side of the manifold coming into the cabin, but you will still start engine number 1 because the isolation valve is closed. So that is a way of saving a bit of time, because otherwise you will still you will be without any air conditioning until you complete both engine starts.
Yeah, I always do that in winter and
yeah, it's called the isolated pack operation.
Yeah. And the other thing is I saw some companies that do the engine start with both electric and main hydraulic pumps off on the right side.
It depends on the procedure.
Yeah, it's just to check that some lights light up to see that everything is working.
Probably.
Okay.
I'm not sure, to be fair.
Yeah, you are not using that procedure, yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw.
Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No. Just some Ukrainians operators were using it all the time. So.
Oh, okay.
But they used to flying the Mira and all those other aircraft, and that's why they do weird
weird things.
Yeah. Anyway, now I'm going totally off on a tangent, but I saw, and now I cannot remember. I promise you, I cannot remember whether it was an Illusion, a Tupolev, or a what the hell ever this aircraft was. This Russian aircraft. They've got some cockpit videos on YouTube, and I tell you what, I sat and I watched some of those cockpit videos. My golly, that thing actually flies, and the amount of effort that you have to put in there, and you have to have one guy on the throttles, one guy on the stick, you know, and the next guy doing something else. It's like 3 or 4 guys in the cockpit working together to get that thing to do what it needs to do. It's crazy. It was weird. But anyway, okay, now we're going completely off the reservation. Okay, Sasso, here's my next question, seeing that you want to be a real pilot. See?
Oh, no, they say I'm a real pilot, but that's not true. But anyway, that's another story. Yeah, go on.
All right, okay. You're just modest, I know.
It's a real instructor, Nico.
Yeah, okay, he's a real instructor. Okay, now forget that now. Engine start switch. This engine start switch, this thing, okay?
Yeah.
It came up a few streams ago, and somebody asked me about it, and I said, no, I'll have to find out. I don't know.
Ignition, left to right.
Yeah, this ignition, right. Tell us that story, please. What is this about? Because I just leave it. I never ever switch it over.
So, the ignition left is on the safety equipment, let's say, on the basic emergency equipment, which means is powered by DC, in other words, by the battery, okay? The ignition right, instead, is driven by AC power. So, if you have a malfunction to the ignition right, you will need the engineer to attend the aircraft. That's why, at least in my company, we select ignition right only when we are starting in manned base. In other words, in base where we have engineering coverage. And then we're going to swap between left and right throughout the flight. So the first sector, let's imagine I'm starting in, I don't know, Stansted, for instance, which is a maintenance base. So I'm starting with the right ignition. Then I land in, I don't know, France somewhere. I switch it to the left. So I test the left one. Then I land in another place. I switch back to the right. And so on. But the first, initially, I need to have the right one only into manned base. And this is because the ignition right is powered by AC. And so if there is a malfunction or if it doesn't work, then I need engineering to attend the aircraft. I'm gonna try to find the right words, but engine system, start the system, ignition system. So each engine has 2 igniter plugs. The EEC arms the igniter selected by the ignition selected switch. The left igniter will receive power from the associated transfer bus. The right igniter will receive power from the standby bus. So in other words, now it means that technically with the ignition to the right, we might have technically a problem. And in that case, if you have a problem on the right ignition, only engineer will be able to start the engine using the right igniter. That's the thing.
Okay.
Just by Boeing, basically.
Yes.
Is how the system is built.
Okay.
Sasso, this is Mike.
Yeah.
ATA, our procedures was left ignition on the first flight of the day, right ignition the second flight, and back and forth.
Okay. Yeah. I think it just depends on the company. For us, they decided this way because we have probably some maintenance base, or we have a lot of maintenance base. I don't know, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
What they say in my company is that you use the right igniter in manned base.
Only when you
have
got the engineer,
coverage.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, otherwise, okay, but that's interesting because, I mean, it defaults to the right, it's just that way.
Usually, what happened that when you start the aircraft, now not in the sim, but in reality, it means that you're starting from a cold and dark, so it means probably that the aircraft has been parked overnight. This means that the airport is a base. And if it's a base, most likely you're going to have engineering coverage. That's why you're going to use, by default, the right one for the first flight.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay,
my
because
idea.
Yeah, in Explain, and for that matter in the PMDG, Zibo or PMDG, I never even touched that thing because now I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Ignorance. John McPherson, the reason the VSSI is jumping there, he noticed it.
Everybody has a cold in the back, so they're jumping.
No. What happens is I'm using xEnviro, and it's an xEnviro thing. It makes the VSSI jump a little bit. One of those things. We know about it.
I thought they were all jumping to get warm.
No, tell you what, the other day when this aircraft started bouncing and bursting into flames at the gate, we thought that. We thought there was somebody's bouncing somewhere, Somebody's joining the Mile High Club or something because it was just bouncing. It was funny. Okay, anyway, thank you, Sasso. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Before start procedure, let's get going. John McPherson. Sorry, Antonio. We are going to have a look, and we're obviously going to record the whole takeoff and climb and everything. That's the whole point that we're having a look at now. So, well, one of them. Okay. Go ahead, Antonio.
No, I was just asking Sasso if in his procedures they are using both starters in cold weather.
Complete.
No, always only one.
Ready for before start checklist.
Yeah.
Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Papers.
On board.
Flight deck door. Closed and locked. Fuel. Pumps on. Passenger signs. On. Window. Locked. MCP. Speed 151. Heading 131. Altitude 35,000. Takeoff speeds. V1 140. V rotate 142. V2 151. CDU pre-flight. Complete.
Hello Neil and hello Dave, sorry. Yeah, I've said hello to Dave, but hello Scotsman. Almost forgot about you.
Taxi and takeoff briefing. Anti-collision light.
I have to move that thing where I can actually read it, so I might as well
On.
put it somewhere there.
Before start checklist complete.
Alright.
Engine start procedure. Waiting for the command to start sequence.
Start number 2 engine.
Starting number 2 engine.
Jacob, I just noticed your comment there. Sasso's been with the project for a number of years already. He's one of the stars, right? One of the...
the sky.
Yeah. Sasso's been instrumental in getting this Zibo mod close to reality.
You are too generous.
It's true. It's true.
25N2.
You know, Sasso, I never started or joined the Zibo team to be famous or any. There wasn't any fame and fortune involved in the decision. It was a passion decision. And I think most of us here, you included, we all joined because of our belief in Zibo, our faith in him, you know, and the potential we saw and all those things. And I mean, I get a lot of guys sometimes, and it's funny, I go through some YouTube channels and I hear people call my name and I go, ooh, I'm probably blushing. When I hear it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think any one of us have got a big attitude problem. We've never gone there. We're all down to earth, normal guys. Even Zibo, you know, we don't have airs and graces and weird things, and that's what makes it so nice. We do it for the love of it, and if the guys like it, you know, great, and they do. So we're happy, you know. But I know what you mean. It's not easy to take the what's the right English word now? The praises, you know, because we're humble guys, you know. So anyway, I think I hope you understand what I mean. Start number 1 engine.
Starting number 1 engine.
Yeah, and I mean, you've taught us so much. Sasso is an excellent teacher.
So now look, Nico, go into the overhead.
Yeah.
Go into the overhead. Now, if we want to give some air, engine number 2 is started already.
Yeah.
So isolation valve to close. Close.
Where's close? Sorry, that was auto.
Right pack to auto. Right pack to auto. Now, the right pack is going to give some air into the fuselage. The isolation valve is closed position, so nothing is going to go into the left side. So the APU bleed is still helping us to give air to the engine number 1 for start.
Yeah.
But this is the isolated pack operation.
Nice.
In this way, we are warming up the cabin.
Yeah,
and engine number 1 is going to start without any problem.
Yeah, I see.
Engine start procedure complete.
It worked.
After engine number 1 and engine number 2 are stable, now you can reconfigure the panel if you want. That's it. And then you do the rest as part of the flow for taxi.
We'll get Linda to do that.
Yeah, but that is the so-called isolated pack operation, which can be done. There is a supplementary procedure to do it, but usually can be done quite easily by memory.
Okay,
I have a phone call. I will be back.
Okay. Paul, when he comes back, I will ask him to pay attention to your question. He just had to run for that phone call quickly. Hello,
Ready
Piotr.
for taxi procedure. Flaps 5 set.
I think in his SOP never, but just ask him.
We always ask, we learn. You don't learn if you don't ask, you know, so you have to ask. There was something.
Yeah, but you need to listen, Nico.
I don't mind listening. It's not the listening that's the problem, it's the freaking remembering. The memory.
Yeah, he said never. We never put it on both.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was Paul asking, huh?
Yeah, I know Sasso said it, but I don't want to answer it on Sasso's behalf. Okay.
No, but that's why I said it, because it was Paul asking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, while he's not here, And he is so modest. I mean, I can just tell you guys one thing. We would have been lost without this guy. He's really amazing, and he can be as modest as he wants to be. The guys here that know him know he's been absolutely instrumental in getting the Zibo mod where it is now, you know. And yes, he is a real world Boeing instructor. He's not just a pilot, he's an actual trainer. So it's a good qualification to have, and a good person with that qualification to have in the team. You know, he's a great guy.
Nico, I upgraded the ACARs and I lost my API key and the URL. Where do I find that?
In your profile. You log into the website, you go to your profile, and you will see there's like an eye with a little stripe through it. You click on it, it will open up the API for you, and the URL is http://SkymatixVA.com. That's it. So you can copy that from the web page as well. Okay, anyway, I'm sitting here dreaming now. Let's quickly get going. We can let go of all these things, put that thing in place, check everything is locked, make sure we're okay. We've got flaps 5 green light, so parking brake off, take off config test, no problem, recall, no issue, and there we go. Right, so there you are. Just put away. Why do we have a master caution on? Oh. Oops. There we go. Ah, no more master caution. Well, Jacob, what you do, the best place to ask him, because it's not related to what we're doing here, right? Is in Discord. Ask him. You know?
I'm back.
All right. I was just explaining to Jacob, there's a couple of questions he has. So I said he must just ask the questions in Discord and you can answer him there. You know, it's easy as that.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you're doing an heading select departure?
Yes, because we get the conditional waypoint and then vector immediately. You know, and it's literally turning us away from where we want to go to. So...
Okay.
Sasso-X005. He wants to know what your handle is. And please don't send him PMs. Okay, he's not going to respond on PMs, personal messages and stuff. He's too busy. All right, literally too busy. He's got a life as well, so don't spam him. Just put a question in Discord. You can tag Sasso. If you start typing at Sasso, he'll come up. It's Tix005 is his call sign. And then you can just leave him a message, okay? No, yeah, I'm going the right way. Hello, Stephen. All right, Paul was asking, when do you use both igniters? We gave him the answer, but I said, I don't want to answer on your behalf. Please just repeat what you said earlier. When do you use both igniters? That switch at the top.
Never. I'm gonna use both igniter. I'm going by memory. If I have a loss of thrust on both engine, or if I encounter oh my god, how is called volcanic ash, or if I have ice crystal icing. So in really bad situation when I have a loss of thrust on both engine. In that case, I'm gonna have the igniter to both and both star switches to flight, because I would not attempt to regain the thrust loss. But that is a kind of emergency maneuver. So if we have a look at the QR8, and I go into engine, and then into loss of thrust on both engine, he will tell me to have the star switches, both engine number 1 and engine number 2, into flight, and then try to have the start levers to cut off, and then back to idle in an attempt to regain the thrust loss. Also, the igniter to both could help this reignition. But other than that, at least in my company, we never tend to have both igniter selected. We always tend to use only one. I don't know if it makes sense.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nico, I can't find the API code.
Okay, let me show you quickly. Are you watching my YouTube channel?
Let me see. I think so.
Please. It's easier than to reconfigure the streaming on Discord.
On runway 13, on runway 13.
It says I'm watching the stream, but I don't see it.
Okay, do you see at the bottom of the screen there's a word live? In the bottom of the video it says live. Wait,
okay, I got you.
Alright, so can you see that I'm showing... Sorry, no I'm not. Hold on, display capture. Now, okay, count to 8 seconds and then you'll see. I'm literally showing the VA, my profile in the VA. Tell me when you see it.
I'm looking. I got you on the runway.
Yeah, it will come up just now.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Can I quickly take a screenshot for you? Mark, I'm just waiting for the screenshot to upload. I'm gonna send you wait a minute. I'm gonna put it into Skymatix chat just above us here. Look in Skymatix chat, there's a screenshot. Now you'll see in the screenshot, just at the bottom right hand side of my picture, it says API key. There's like an I. Oh, I see they've removed the line, probably on the flip side. So you click on the I. Alright. The moment you click on the I, it will show you the API key, and then you can just copy and paste it. Do you see the picture, or do you see the stream now?
On runway 13, on runway 13.
I'll help him.
Okay, no, that's fine, Mac. Well, thank you. What's his name? Owen has now graciously offered these services. Yeah, just help Mike there, please, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Twixter. I see you are with us as well. That's amazing to have you here as well, man. Thank you for joining. Paul. Funny. Right, okay, okay, we're gonna take off. Okay, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna fly by hand for a little while. Okay, let's see what this thing handles like right now.
Don't use the bloody VNAV then. Use do a manual acceleration. You know, when you LNAV and VNAV is fantastic when you want to fly LNAV and VNAV. But when you're going into heading select and fly manually, just fly the aircraft just kind of a V8. So do the manual backup whenever you fancy to do the backup. Much better.
Stephen, in this room, in Skymatix Live on Air, you have to have push to talk enabled. Next time you come into the Discord, just send me a message and then we'll meet you outside or something. We'll make a plan for you, okay? Otherwise you have to set up, ooh, that's nice. You have to set up a push to talk. I just pulled and let go just to see what happens. Oh, that was lovely. Nice.
So at 1000 AGL, which is top of the wide band, we're gonna bug up manually.
Where do you
if you bug up, you will
Yeah.
see that the flight director will command an acceleration by lowering the nose to around 8 degrees nose up.
Okay.
Okay? Now the speed will start to increase. As soon as you have a positive trend and the speed is above the Y bug, you can call for flap 1. You can bug directly the up speed, and then you will retract initially to flap 1. You can do it now because you have a positive trend and the speed is above the Y1. And then as soon as the speed cross with the positive trend, the flap 1 maneuvering speed, as in doing now, you can go flap up. Now, as soon as the speed approach flap up, the pitch is going to increase again to around 12.5 to climb at the up speed.
Flaps up and set.
Now you can maintain the up speed, do the right turn to rejoin the magenta line.
No, we want to go left. That's the whole point. We want to actually go left.
Fine, so if you want to make altitude, maintain the up speed and start a left turn. That's it, maximum 25 degrees of bank, no more than that. And you're going to climb nicely away at the up speed. Okay? What I would suggest in normal condition is to have always a margin on the up speed. So if this up speed is 215, I'm going to say 225, have 10 knots margin. Okay? That's it. And also, because we have flaps up no lights, you would ask for level change. Because we are still in toga mode, because we haven't used the autopilot at all. So just hit level change. Now the pitch is gonna give you the pitch to maintain the speed, which is a wonderful climb rate. Okay, you climb away nicely. Then when you fancy with your heading, you can roll wings level, and then we're gonna accelerate at 100. So we do only one acceleration, which is comfort for the passenger, instead of doing 250 and then 300.
Yeah, I just want to quickly turn to the proper heading.
Watch out for the pitch. Watch out for the pitch. Look at the speed. That's it. 12.5 will give you the up speed, so maybe you need to lower around 10 to regain that speed. Now, maintain the heading. Don't play with LNAV. As soon as you have the wings level, now that we cross level 100, lower the nose a bit to around 6 degrees, and the speed is gonna go up. So now you can increase to whatever the speed is, 280 knots, 290 knots. You should have it in the climb page.
I'm turning the wrong knob. Hold on. It's
climb page
308.
308. Yeah. So you can increase the speed to 308, and you will see that the flight director will command an acceleration, and for this reason will command the nose down to around 8 degrees. There it is. Easy on the flight director. Now the speed you see is even more, is around 6 degrees. Because now we are increasing the speed above level 300, sorry, above level 100, so it's a huge increase in thrust. Remember, trim, 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 because as the speed is increasing, the nose wanna go up, because of the engine mounted below the wing.
Yes.
So as the speed is increasing, first you fly the aircraft with the control column position, then you trim out any force with the trim. Don't fly the aircraft through the trim, but position the control column where you want the nose to be, and then trim out the force. So basically, at the moment, we are using the basic mode. We are using heading select and level chain. We are not talking at all with the FMC. Okay, these are kind of intermediate automation mode. Okay, which is quite nice. It's quite handy to start to understand the flight director system.
And I'm flying
so
all
once
by
you are,
hand.
yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Once you are in trim and the aircraft is flying the flight director without any force applied to the control column, in order you will engage the autopilot and then the auto throttle, but the auto throttle is already on. So all you have to do, make sure the aircraft is in trim and following the flight director, and then just press Command A, verify on the FMA, Command.
Yeah.
Now we can say Command A, which means we are in command.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in command A.
That's it. And then in the next page, probably you want to have a direct to a point. That's it. And then enough. Happy days. That's it.
Twixter, can you talk with us or not?
Approaching transition.
Because I see you've muted yourself. Don't know if you're busy and just listening. Anyway, guys.
Nico, could you please go back to a heading select?
I could if you pay me
just
enough.
For Mike. Sorry, just for Mike. Mike, the question you asked, bug up level change, so the manual bug up, it depends on the noise abutment procedure. Noise abutment procedure number 1, you will bug up at 3000 AGL. Noise abutment procedure number 2, you will bug up at 1000 feet AGL. It just depends on what is the noise abutment procedure for that airport or for that specific runway. But you are going to do it manually, either at 1000 or 3000 AGL. Sorry, it was just to answer Mike, Nico.
Sure, no problem. So,
Thank you.
Twixter?
Yeah, Nico, I'm here.
Excellent. Okay, be on standby. I want to say something about you, but Antonio said something else. You wanted to go to heading select for what?
You had to go on manual flying because it seemed to me that the flight director was on center even if you were out of the heading selected for the heading select when you were flying manually.
It was slightly out because I was to the left of the localizer, so to speak, the upright. Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't completely in it, but I was close enough with intolerance to activate the command, which I did. So I didn't bring it perfectly in line like it is now.
No, I wasn't considering your flying. I was considering that I was expecting the flight director to command a turn. Instead, it was perfectly centered.
Yeah, okay, I didn't pay much attention to that. But anyway, here's the next one coming up. So let's see what it does now. So we're in heading select. So now we want to go to LNAV. It's hunting. There we go. There's the turn. Maybe we were just not in the right position at the moment, Antonio. I don't know. But I mean, it is working. It's definitely working. Right, and you'll see it's going to turn back right just now as well. We're a bit close there to really have done what we did, but we did it anyway. Okay. Right, so guys, I see we are 49 guys according to my counter on YouTube, and we've got a whole host of guys here in Discord. And because Twixter is here, and he's also a humble guy, and you know, all those things. Sasa, we did speak about you behind your back. You can go listen to it later if you want to. But because...
Oh, wow.
Because...
What did I do?
No, you did nothing. You're a good guy. So, I just want to take the opportunity to say to Twixter, thank you for this flight model. Okay? We have a question about it.
Absolutely.
okay? But because you are here, Twixter, I want to thank you, because without you, we could not have done this. So in public and in front of everybody and with everybody's support, thank you. That's really what I wanted to say.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Agreed.
Just keep remembering that everything's in flux.
Yes.
You know, it's all a beta. And as Zibo, the wizard, keeps adding functionality, it means we have to retune. And so sometimes you're going to see fluctuation, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad, until we get things back in tune. Because everything, it's like an orchestra. Everything dances together, you know, and sometimes when we add a feature, it takes a little while to get it tuned out, because you can have a negative impact when you put something in. And I won't go off into too much detail at the moment, but, you know, there's been a lot of stuff added to that, to the tail package, so to speak, you know, with obviously the elevator shift, and then with the neutral tab, balance tab, and then the also Zibo's working hard to try to tune Mach-trim, and that's a really, really delicate thing. The Mach-trim from simulation is very abstract, and it can create some negative impacts on the way the elevator and the stab work together, and then I have to retune that combination. So, you know, as some of these things come out, I know you know, and I know most of the people here in this stream know, but you always have to remember that this is a fine beta, right? So we're constantly in a beta mode as we improve and make modifications. And if everybody continues to be patient with that, we'll continue to improve it as we always have. But it will obviously sometimes be a 2 steps forward and 1 step back kind of a scenario as we correct those things that come up occasionally from adding functionality and features.
Absolutely. Twixter, I did warn a few times on the various different platforms and in my streams that you and Zibo are still working and constantly working on it. So the guys that follow us regularly know this. It's obviously the new guys or the guys that just happened to pass by that would have gotten the message from you now. But I've said it a few times. You know, you do one thing, something changes. Zibo does something changes. Then everything needs to bring to balance. So I think the guys, our guys, know that that's just the way it is, you know. But I'm glad you made it here, and it's wonderful to fly this aircraft by hand now. You know, I've spoken personally and behind the scenes many times. I struggled, and I just don't have any of those struggles anymore, Twixter. It's just working, you know.
It's a delicate balance, and I think you know the people that are, you know, obviously you know, it's there. The flight model's there for everyone, but my prime target has always been for, you know, the professional pilots in the group that enjoy simming and want to have a simulator that actually flies this and handles. For me, the handling is the big capital H. That the handling is as close as we can get it within reason. The limitations of desktop simulation. There's a lot of things that we cannot reproduce. Obviously, we can't reproduce G-loads, we can't reproduce actual motion, and we can't reduce control loading unless we have very expensive equipment like a few simmers have. But we want to be able to address all of those audiences the best we can. But when I get a professional pilot, you know, like somebody like Sasso, he flies the airplane, he's current, he's in the teaching mode in the airplane too, so he's exposed to sides of aircraft handling that the average pilot is not going to be, other than when he's in training. And so those assessments and how it handled and the feedback that comes back from the professional pilots really helps me to tune the whole flight regime. And we don't always get it right out the door. You know, I mean, sometimes it takes a lot of how can you say this? What I would call experimental testing. You know, a lot of what I do is based on that. I don't care how accurate the numbers I put in are. if it doesn't handle reflective of the real airplane, then the real numbers may not reflect what we need to be doing. That sounds like an oxymoron, but the reality of it is we're not using the Boeing-based simulation model, i.e. the level B simulators and the 6 POFs that professional organizations use are using licensed simulation software that Boeing is intimately familiar with, and in most cases was directly involved in developing. And so when they dump Boeing's licensed software into that simulator, they get known results based on Boeing data. Now, with Lambert, we don't have that because it's a completely independent, craft-built simulation program. And theoretically, all the numbers ought to work, but theoretically does not always work. And so basically what I have to do sometimes is I have to massage in order to get flight test results that reflect as accurately to the airplane as possible. That means we sometimes diverge away from exact numbers, i.e., how much does this control surface deflect? Well, if I put the real number in there for aileron deflection as an example, and the aircraft doesn't respond with the same kind of roll rates and the same kind of offset or sensitivity on all of these things, if it doesn't respond correctly, then what do? I have to massage the flight model until I get what I want. That sometimes can cause, you shorten your left pant leg and your right one gets longer, so you have to balance all that out. But that's really the process we go through. Zibo's the genius. He comes up with how to implement a particular feature, and then I only deal with, how does the airplane handle, how does it fly, how does it perform. If I open performance manual and I look at cruise data, or I look at climb data or descent data, those are my targets. Get the airplane to model those targets. And if they all fall together, we're happy. Sometimes they don't, and we have to do a little bit of massage.
Excellent. No, that's perfect. Zibo's also in on it. Give me a second.
Twixter.
Mac, 1 second. Zibo's just sent me a message. He's prepared to release this version as public soon. Okay, sorry, Mac, go ahead.
Twixter, I asked you this question last night, but I see somebody in the chat has also asked it, so perhaps you'd like to explain. Twixter, how come you don't change the FM version when you update it now? It has been version 1.1 forever.
Yeah, when you go into this feature. Twixter FM 1.1.
Yeah, actually, Zibo does that update in the software, right? So the reality of it is we're still kind of in flux. This flight model is not a full release version yet. When we went through a couple of iterations, major iterations for the flight model when we went to X-Plane 12, because the X-Plane 12 engine from Lambert does not work the same. There's a lot of differences a lot of you are familiar with. If you were an X-Plane 11, we came to 12. We all went through a process of trying to digest the changes, and a lot of the aircraft developers, of course, that's the first challenge. They found that their aircraft did not perform predictably. So we had to go in and we had to do major surgery on the original flight modeling part of the mod to address a lot of the changes that happened. So we came out with the version X-Plane 12 version 1, and then we had another major change in tuning, and that was 1.1, but we haven't really set it out as anything other than the flight model as it is right now. As we know, we're always in beta mode, but it's basically in alpha. So I do changes every week. We'd be up to 1,000. I mean, sometimes every day there's some change, and almost every time you see a release from Zibo, and quite often it'll say new flight model by Twixter. Well, it's not a complete new flight model. It's just a tuning edition. In other words, we might have just made a minor change. Sometimes we don't even bother to explain what that change is, other than to say we're trying to address, pitch stability, or we're trying to fix the rotation unstick characteristics, whatever. But pretty soon, yeah, we'll probably see a major revision. And I've talked to Zibo about this. One of the things when I say a major revision is I've got to go through and completely relabel or retitle all of my flight model airfoils because they don't have a unique airfoil number. That's just me being a little bit lazy because whenever I change an airfoil, if I update its airfoil number, then I've got to go into another part of the simulator and I've got to match it up. It kind of triples the amount of time I put into it. So if I'm just doing testing and we're doing development testing, I don't do that every time. So that 1.1, yes, it doesn't really reflect the current state of the flight model, but I don't know if that fully answers or not. It's just that we go through so many iterations in the flight model that you'd be seeing a change version sometimes daily, if not weekly, when I'm actually in the development mode. And it wouldn't necessarily always mean anything to you. The other thing I think I would want to try to avoid is, obviously, they go together. You can't separate the flight model from each release number. So the thing that really matters is the release number for Zibo mod, i.e., we're in, what are we now, 6.7A or whatever.
It's actually now 7.1, eh? It's grown.
Yeah, 7.1. That's a good example of it right there, because I just got the message from Zibo also just a few minutes ago saying that he's getting ready to release this latest iteration version. And there are changes in that version that don't have any impact on the public whatsoever. In other words, some of them are actually internal only, and they don't affect flight model, the handling, the auto flight, anything like that. So it's not always clear. I understand that. Hopefully that answers the question. It's just really a question of convenience in the beta and alpha and beta testing mode. We're not really in alpha right now, but the flight model itself is going through a lot of changes, yes. So, but they are derivative changes that are happening cumulatively. And so at some point in the near future, then we'll update the flight model number.
Sounds good. Makes sense.
It's purely us, I won't say being lazy. It's just more efficiency.
Yeah. Twixter, I've spoken to another developer regarding something totally different. Okay, not Zibo so much related, but he's also publishing a lot of updates. And one of the things I saw is he went from version 1 to version 8 in 24 hours. Okay, and it looks crazy when you look at the numbers, how they grow. And I always think some of these developers, when they change the numbers too quickly, they're going to run out of numbers or space to put all the numbers.
Yeah.
That's just some thought that came up now. Yeah,
I think the most important thing, and we, like I say, we have been doing some development on the flight model, which is a separate model. But I need to also point out that in the early days of this, there was a very discrete difference between the modeling that Zibo was doing, i.e., in the beginning it was just grading functionality. That's an oversimplification, but I'll just basically say that mostly he was focusing on adding functionality into the flight deck, i.e., does this switch move? Once I make it move, what does it do? Adding the feature sets for the airplane, and then it continues to mature over time where we're getting very sophisticated, and about 98% of what's going on in the airplane is modeled, right? But the difference was the flight model was being handled as a separate issue because it has its own set of coding, so to speak, that fits into the overall model. And nearly all of it in the beginning, and literally all of it in the beginning, was using Lambert's plane maker and Lambert's airfoil maker in order to modify and create a unique flight model for the Zibo mod. Now, when I say that unique, because we use, of course, ever since I forget exactly what it was. Zibo's probably got a better memory than I, but we introduced either in the fall of 1987 or not 87. Listen to me, fall of 2017 or early in 2018. We went through a completely new, fresh flight model that was completely developed from scratch. In other words, we weren't starting out with an evolution from a previous flight model, either owned by somebody else or Lambert's design. You know, we went completely from scratch. We started fresh, and from that point on, we started continuing with development. And then in recent years, Zibo, of course, has started to do parametric flight modeling, which gives him more flexibility. And that is that a good example is the engine model that we use. Lambert just recently came out with changes and talked about tweaking the engine model again. We can imagine that creates problems for, it can be good and bad, because an existing aircraft model that somebody has released that's using the old code now has to go in and update it to reflect the new code. It creates some more work for them, but it also may improve the overall abilities of the engine, but to more correctly model performance and character. But it nonetheless creates a need to make change. Well, that didn't happen with us because Zibo created his own engine model. It's a parametric model. It's compiled outside of Lambert's engine model and not affected by any changes in plane maker to the engine model. So that's an example of changes that have slowly occurred over time with different things that Zibo finds and I find that we cannot easily modify using Lambert's tools in order to get them to perform correctly and reflect actual parameters of operation. It's sometimes a good example of that is everybody's well aware of the fact that getting the drag on the spoilers just right is difficult. Well, when we were limited to Lambert's way of modeling the spoilers, right, there was very little we could use to tune it because it's a combination of the spoiler panel coming up and how that affects the aerodynamics of that wing section, which is a completely different component, if you know what I mean. It's part of the wing, and so it models, it affects the wing's aerodynamics, coefficient of lift and coefficient of drag are affected when we move the spoiler, but it wasn't effective enough in Lambert as far as we were concerned. So, you know, we've had to come up with different things, different solutions sometimes in order to get various components within the flight model to function in a way that we can tune them more accurately. And that means that slowly over time, less and less of what I do in the flight model is completely independent of Zibo. Really what we have now is a lot of it is parametric. I'll go in and do flight testing and tell him what kind of numbers I would like, and then he will program those directly into his parametric flight model, which is, to be honest, probably 70% now of what we're doing in the FM. So when I do development now, mostly I'm just working on airfoils. The entire aircraft is an airfoil, by the way. I think we talked about this before. You know, the wings, the tail, even the fuselage is an airfoil in reality. So, you know, each of these things I can tune drag, and I can tune lift, and I can tune stability, and a whole bunch of things can be tuned from within the airfoils themselves. But some of the things like elevator deflection, rudder deflection, the ailerons, the spoilers, all of these things now are being drawn away from the laminar model and going directly into the parametric model. So to the end user, that's kind of Greek. For those that like to go in and play themselves inside PlaneMaker and modify, it doesn't work well. They can go in there and nothing happens. But it's one of the ways of evolving the Zibo model. And over time, it means that I'm still involved in helping develop the flight model and try and create the characteristics we want. But more and more, it's a product in the end of the coding that Zibo does. I can mostly only affect the numbers that go into that unless they're given directly with the airfoils, and then I still, so to speak, have control over the airfoils. But those airfoils now, the number on them, like the flight model, has not changed, but they are unique. I couldn't just take the airfoils that I'm using in X-Plane 12 and dump them into X-Plane 11, even though they appear to be the same flight airfoil number. They're not. So over a near-term period, we'll find that all of those evolve and get an updated number to identify them as being X-Plane 12 and i.e. the latest version. But like previously, I said that, if I change a number on the airfoil, then I have to go into other places and update it. It just creates more workload, but I don't have nearly the amount of time I had a few years back when, when I was, as I've said many times on the channel or to people in conversations that, I could work 12, 14 hours a day when I was in China and I wasn't flying, right? I was just sitting in my apartment. I could do 12 hours a day of development and do that 5 or 6 days a week. I wasn't flying, but now that I'm back in USA and I, still have to go out and earn the bread and butter, so to speak, I have less time available to do a lot of that kind of stuff. So I try to use my time a little bit more efficiently.
Twixter, question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start from the bottom. Dan on stream wants to know how much is the X-Plane laminar flight model changing? My answer is I don't think we really care because we don't use it. What's your answer?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at there a moment ago. There are a few things that are still affected by laminar. The best way to explain this is, there's the PlaneMaker is the interface that Lambert created in order to be able to create flight models and become a developer and build your own airplanes. And it's a fairly powerful tool, but it has its limitations. And I won't go into some of those. I've mentioned some of those in the past that were pretty big limitations, actually, in my eyes. But bottom line is it's a very powerful tool. So a lot of the things that Lambert has changed, like in the engine model, you can go in their engine model and you can now make changes. Some people may have run into this recently where they go to start up and they get some kind of a warning that this airplane needs this or needs that action. And a lot of times it's Lambert looking inside their little PlaneMaker version and it says, hey, you need to set this parameter or that parameter. Yet it's not affecting in Zibo because we are not using that part of the engine model because we don't use our engine model at all. So but the things that do affect us is when they make changes to the basic physics engine, right? The physics of the airspace, the air masses, movement of wind, all of these things, that have anything to do with the physics of the model and the real world, so to speak, trying to model the real world, those directly affects us because we have to fly within that particular model, right? I.e., there's the basic flight model, and then there's the aircraft flight model, and the two are not they're interrelated, but they are independent from each other. And I think sometimes people get confused by Lambert saying, okay, we updated the flight model. What they're talking about is the basic physics engine, not the flight model specifically for the aircraft itself.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Next question. But before we get there, 7.1 is released. You can download 7.1 from the Google Drives. Once I'm done with the stream, I'll put that into the torrent. So if you guys run out of steam on the Google Drives, just bear with us. I'm busy, as you can see. We'll do the torrents afterwards. But 7.1 available in Google Drives. Then, next question, Twister. Jacob is concerned. Jacob is a relative new user on the channel, and he's got very interesting questions. Okay, so he's concerned about the flare and the takeoff and the nose wheel going into the air before rotation speed and those kind of things. I'm not sure if I've had a chat with him before, but I mean, that's a work in progress, right? That stuff, that's part of the tweaking that you're on about for the last half an hour. Things happen. You tweak one thing, something changed. What's your take on that one? Have you got a quick answer for him there?
Yeah, that's an exact example of how when we do updates, we have to remember, we're not working with a real aircraft, where if I make physical changes in a real aircraft, it's self-evident to some degree, but here we're talking about, obviously, software, and we're talking about a bunch of equations, right, that try to model particular behavior. And this is one of those examples I'm talking about where, we added the elevator shift. And why did we add elevator shift, neutral point shift? We added that because we have always had a problem going back to the dark ages, so to speak, with modeling proper nose wheel when we lift the nose off on takeoff, having enough stab authority to actually rotate on schedule, and two things, right? Having the right amount of authority and the right interaction with the tail so that we get the deadband, and at the same time, we also about the right amount, which is very subjective, and that when we rotate to the final pitch attitude, that we have roughly got when I say roughly, it's because it is rough. It's in the real world, it's not exact science either, that the stabilizer provides enough lift so that the nose stays roughly neutral, right? But more importantly, as a lot of users don't realize, is what are the characteristics, right? I lose an engine at P1, how will the aircraft behave? Will the nose pitch up? Will the nose pitch down? The stabilizer authority has a lot to do with that. And when you're only, a few hundred feet off the ground, the last thing you want is for the aircraft to pitch its nose over with an engine out, and it's only seconds before you're a statistic, right? So that's a very important aspect of it. Now, when we added the elevator shift, what happened was the whole purpose of doing it was to add more authority to the stabilizer, all right, because it effectively increases the range of elevator motion available to us in the nose up range. And without going into all the details, that's the net result of the neutral shift, and one of the main reasons that Boeing designed it into the system anyway is because they knew that in certain cases that the stabilizer's lift curve is not going to be adequate. So we added that. Now, what was the result? Yeah, it did exactly what we expected, but it changed the characteristic of the stabilizer lift curve, right? So it basically enhanced the lift curve, it strengthened it, which is what we wanted to happen. But how does that affect everything else? Well, in this case, it causes premature rotation during takeoff roll. So this is a really delicate balance. So we tune it back, and we try to get that back towards where it belongs. And this is also very subjective. The real pilots are going to understand. The guys who fly the 737 like any other large jet airplane, are going to have a better idea of what that concept is. You know, Sasso might want to explain, you know, for instance, his take on that.
Ready for
You know, when
descent
the airplane is loaded forward nose, i.e. with a forward CG versus with an aft CG, you're going to have a little bit different characteristics. When the airplane is loaded heavy versus empty, you're going to have different characteristics. So most large jet airplanes, because of the wing loading, you know, they're designed to fly it and handle that takeoff weight, right? But if you take off empty in them, most jet airplanes don't fly real well. When I say well, I mean they don't handle the same when they're empty as they do when they're heavy, right? They actually usually handle better when they're heavy. So the result is we have some variation in the actual character of the flight model based on weight, based on center of gravity, and based on thrust available, i.e. whether it's low altitude or high altitude, what have you. So there's a real delicate balance there to get that right. I'm working on that right now. I'm actually, again, retuning or actually going into the basic airfoil design of the stab and working on creating a better curve, because I can get rid of the problem that we're talking about, but I also found that the last version of the stabilizer curves that I'm using may be contributing. It may not be the core reason, but it may be contributing with the delicate difficulty or balance that Zibo is having trying to get the auto flight system to be very stable in tuning pitch, i.e., you know, prevent pitch oscillations. So I'm recurving that stabilizer lift coefficient so that it will reduce the tendency for the auto flight system to have to chase tuning that all the time. And in the real airplane, it's very different than it is when we're talking about ones and zeros. You know, a slight change or a problem in equation somewhere can create all kinds of weird results. And so, you know, we sometimes start to think everything is just like a real airplane, and we expect A plus B equals C, and it doesn't always come out that way. And that's when Zibo uses expertise and he chases down, and sometimes it's a broken link in a couple of equations, you know, or something like that. But in this case, I'm actually trying to take one of the things out of there by changing the stab trim. So in something that's not even in current release yet, or I haven't even sent to Zibo yet, is I spent all of yesterday working on stabilizer coefficient of lift. But when I do that, before I send it to him, I go out in my hands, fly the airplane through the full regime, right? I do stall tests, I do speed turns, you know, I accelerate to DMO, I decelerate to minimum maneuvering speed, and I check all the parameters. Does that change, in this case, the stabilizer trim, does it still have all the authority it needs? And then another side effect that I'm looking at with this curve is the fact that when Zibo added the neutral shift, and when he added the balance tabs, those, of course, like I say, affected the authority of the stabilizer. But now he's also working on Mach trim. Now, Mach trim is really, really delicate, right, to get right. And because it should only be doing what it needs to do in the regimes of flight where we're actually getting something that we call Mach, which I won't get into right now. But Mach tuck, basically at high Mach numbers, as the shock wave on the wing, particularly at the inboard or the root section of the wing, starts to move aft, it basically moves the center of lift aft, which with a certain CG causes the nose to want to pitch down. And Mach trim basically overcomes that by constantly trimming the nose up slightly to overcome Mach. Well, you can imagine that's very complicated. And as by putting that Mach trim in, what we found is that again affected the stabilizer, and that's why people were starting to see very forward trim in cruise, or very forward trim in certain regimes of flight when we were above the critical Mach number. So critical Mach number, by the way, is where these effects start to take place. It actually, Boeing, I think, labels the critical Mach number up somewhere around 0.70, but in this particular airfoil combination. But actually, this starts occurring down around Mach 0.5, right? So the issue here is that I now have to figure out how to recurve it so that the Mach trim will not negatively impact the stab once again and cause these forward trim limits to not be correct. Somebody brought up, I think it was McTrine, brought up recently that, he compared to the real sim and to ours, and we were running a stab trim about 1 degree forward of what the real sim is. Yeah, and the result was exactly that. I have to recurve the stabilizer so that the Mach trim doesn't create this artificial impact in the flight model, which causes forward stab trim. And the problem with the forward stab trim is we get to the hand flying trim limit that Boeing designed in there, so that when we use electric trim, right, depending on which model of the 800, 700 to 900, they have different limits on forward electric trim. Well, you can run out of that at a very low speed if we don't have the current balance just right. So how high should it be? It depends on the center of gravity and how heavy the airplane. It is not a straightforward situation. That's why when people say to me, I had this happen or that happen, the first thing I do is come back and say, okay, I need to know what was the weight of the aircraft, what was your configuration, what was the altitude, what was, all of these things impact the net result of what we get out of the flight model. So it's not always straightforward, and the answer sometimes is just as complex as this lengthy explanation I'm giving you right now. But we do what we can to try and get that, and we are, for Jacob's sake, we are working on that early rotation, and I can easily make it go away, but if I'm too aggressive with a fix, what we'll end up with is a negative impact in another part of the stab trim authority. So we have to get it balanced just right. Now, for those who actually fly real airplanes, they know that we're not looking for the nose wheel to be driven into the ground until we rotate. We're looking for it to be fairly neutral, right? And in some circumstances, you can still end up with a little bit of skipping, as we call it. The nose wheel will skip, right? Or have a tendency to almost prematurely rotate. And it depends on the airplane you're flying. And, Sasso can comment on this. Sometimes we're not really completely releasing the yoke, but holding just a minor, just a touch of forward pressure on it by the monitoring pilot during the takeoff roll, so that the nose doesn't skip in a gusty wind condition or something like that. But that's a matter of what is the SOP at this specific airline quite often, or, what's Boeing recommendation for the 737-800 versus any other model variant, or, 767 or 777, they all may have slightly different characters in that way. So, this is where the feedback from guys that are currently airplane, like Sasso, like Sam, like some of the other guys that I listen to and read their feedback, it's really important to get that real-time feedback from those guys as much as possible. So that's how we end up fine-tuning the flight model, and just instead of being elbow, so to speak, on the table in the general vicinity of correct. So, did I answer all of that? Was there something else that Jacob was questioning about there? Hello?
Twixter, no, I think it's okay. Upper DU. Both me and Zibo, we're talking, I'm busy typing there, we missed the top of descent. What happened was, there was like a 4,000 foot something difference there, and then the aircraft nosedived to try and catch on to the path, okay? And we're trying to figure it out. And Zibo says he didn't see where the throttles are at. So Zibo, I presume you're watching. There's the throttles. You can see my actual throttles, and as far as I'm concerned, it was visible the whole time. You just didn't see the physical throttles, but there they are. I mean, the aircraft is in idle. There is my physical throttles. That is the engine line. So that's what I'm trying to show on the screenshot. So,
but you had the lower altitude already before top of descent. So so you started the descent at the right time. You didn't pass the top of descent.
You see, that's what I didn't see that. So I'm going on what you're saying. Yeah, I'll have to review the video.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, I mean, so not be a problem then. I don't understand why you went over speed.
Because I did not see what happened. I don't know. I have no idea what to see. I'm going to have to rewind.
No, I'm rewinding back. I'm doing it now.
Dave Cat, thank you.
I think that sometimes what people miss there is when the throttles are at idle, right? What controls airspeed is vertical rate, right? So if you have to go to a high vertical rate in order to recapture a flight path or a glide path, then airspeed, the energy transfers, right? So you start a high rate of descent, and your airspeed is going to start to increase. We can permit that, obviously, up to MMO, unless we've got a speed restriction from ATC or something. And obviously, if it's getting too high or it's getting critical or we're getting close to we have to do a speed reduction, then we can go to the speed brakes. And as we all know, the speed brakes are very limited in their authority in the 737 compared to a lot of airplanes. So, the amount of result we get is we can keep that speed under control to a degree by going to maximum flight spoilers, but they still may have some kind of acceleration going on there. That's perfectly normal within the limitations of the aircraft. And that's one of the other features that's been coming up, right? With a lot of discussion about how heavy should speed brakes be. How do we measure that, right? And we do have some stuff in the manual. We take feedback from 737 drivers, what they experience in real life. And we also have some numbers that we can model level. But that's exactly what happens in this particular case is when the aircraft accelerates too much and we're not necessarily using a speed profile, that's a good indication that something in the drag model may need tuning. Or it can be that we've got too much idle thrust at that particular altitude, at that particular Mach number. It gets kind of complex trying to chase it down. We usually know where to look based on otherwise how the aircraft is performing. But this is that delicate balance we've been chasing for a while, trying to get the speed brakes back in the proper mode of operation. So, and this is kind of one of those knee-jerk things, right? If we find that we need to change the drag model slightly, right? Because of, say, cruise performance, as an example. So as soon as I change the drag model, then it's going to affect the spoilers, it's going to affect descent performance, it's going to affect climb performance. It's you're juggling a whole bunch of derivatives that
Twister. I just rewinded the video back on YouTube, and I saw that initially, as soon as he started the descent, he went straight down at 4,000 feet a minute, which is too much at that altitude. I'm not expecting 4,000 feet a minute as soon as I start top of descent. I'm expecting something slower, because as the Mach number increases during the descent, actually not the Mach number, but because the descent was at a constant Mach number initially, my indicated airspeed is going to increase until the changeover point. So then my rate of descent is going to slowly increase with the increase in Mach number. But initially, it won't go immediately to 4,000 feet a minute. That was too much.
Yeah,
also, I think that the idle, the flight idle, is a bit too high. I'm not expecting 45% as a flight idle. I would expect something less, especially without engine anti-ice-on. I would expect something like 38%, not 45.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's one of the things that
I think it was
we really need to get some direct feedback.
Yeah.
Now we use the flight model. We use the engine idle curve as one of the tools to tune descent rate. Especially now, how do I measure that from a flight modeling perspective? I take the Boeing descent charts or the Boeing climb charts. I go directly to the performance manual and I use specific, i.e. the standard descent profile is in the Boeing manual is 0.78 Mach, right, to 280, and then 250 at 10. So we use that to model, and then we can use the data that Boeing has provided to show us at specific weights what kind of performance we should get. So when we tune the idle, right, part of that is tuning the thrust. And Zibo's actively working with us right now. We're actually trying to, if it's doable, we're trying to get the Boeing Mach idle thrust. This is something that was hard for us to find for a long time. How much at a specific Mach number, how much idle thrust do we have? Idle thrust is actually specific impulse. In other words, what's the difference between my airspeed and the actual velocity of
flight level 100.
Exhaust,
landing light switches
right?
on.
And then that creates a specific impulse. In other words, how much thrust am I actually getting? And that changes with altitude, Mach number, and in most airplanes, the reason the idle goes up, all right, whether it's accurate or not is another issue. But the reason the idle goes up is because if I tried to use the same idle settings in a jet engine that I do at sea level, at say 39,000 feet, if I put the airplane to idle, the aircraft will probably flame out because we don't have enough. We can't maintain combustion pressures at high altitude, so they raise the idle, right? Now, this is where I would just, that's a long way of saying, if you actually do a descent unmolested by ATC, that's a great time to say, give us, what are the idle numbers you observe it if you're actually at, say, 390 and you get a descent clearance.
Yeah.
Obviously, you pull it to idle. If you can record those numbers at standard, at whatever you're, if you're at Mach 7.8 initially. And this is the other aspect of that too, and I know you know what I'm talking about here. When we're trying to maintain a Mach 7.8 descent to change over to 280, 100, and 280 knots, as the aircraft descends, we're chasing Mach, right? So what tends to happen is one of the effects is that the nose comes down steeper and steeper, trying to keep the Mach number, and the rate of descent initially increases. And then we hit our stable 280, for instance, we transition, then we go to a more stable descent rate. So, yes, this is really hard to model, and that's mostly it is part of the flight model, but mostly it's in how Zibo is able to tune the vertical nav system to function correctly during transition. And it's, as you know, hard to do.
Of course.
And even in the fleet airplanes, right, in the real world, and I think you probably explained this, or you've experienced this, I'm sure. Each aircraft, not all of them, but a lot of them have a unique characteristic. Maybe their auto flight system is not as well tuned as the last one you flew. So you can get variation just from one airplane to another.
Yeah, I can see it even in real aircraft. Compare a new one with the old one. Absolutely.
Yes. So there are variations that happen, and I would love to have that data. If one of the guys that's currently in the airplane can accurately record those idle numbers and say, from 40 to all the way on down. Now we have data we can plug in, change the idle number, but then we have to modify the thrust coefficient that we're getting, i.e. how much thrust does the engine produce at Mach 0.78 at 39,000 feet at idle.
Okay. Got it.
It is kind of a complex thing, and we've worked with this a lot. What we have been doing recently here is we have been using the idle value to tune the performance, providing the drag model is fairly correct. And you can see how if you tune one aspect incorrectly, it will affect the other. So it's a combination of those two things, or three things. What kind of lift am I getting at a certain Mach number out of the wings and the fuselage? Because it's part of the lift coefficient is the fuselage too. And how much drag is the whole package producing? And then against that, how much thrust, residual thrust is there, or is it negative? Because in some cases, according to Boeing's data, we can actually have negative thrust from the engine, i.e. we got more drag than we have thrust.
Sorry, Twister. I just want to show Nico something here. So, Nico, you are under vectors basically now, yeah?
Yes.
That's the approach.
Yes.
So what you can do now, go in heading select. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Go in heading select on present heading. So match the actual heading. 120, whatever it was. Okay? So now let's imagine that ATC will tell us expect left turn to base. So initially start to go in vertical speed and reduce your rate of descent to 500 feet a minute or even less. We don't want to level off. Now start a left turn heading 030. Let's imagine ATC is giving us vectors. Okay? Now what you can do, you can take the final approach point, which is the Fox point in the legs page, I think, or a Kigar. No, Kegbe.
Kegbe, yeah.
So take Kegbe on top, and now bottom right, put the extended center line. So the course of the runway, which is, what is the course?
I'm looking, it's 303.
So put 303.
Yeah.
That's it. There, execute. Execute. Now you have a wonderful magenta in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
So now, once you are level, don't do anything, but you can expect ATC will tell you, continue the left turn. Okay? So at some point, we are very far from the runway. We are at 17 nautical miles. No, don't use approach. Don't use approach because you are at 9 degrees. So what ATC will tell you is ATC, for instance, will give you now a left turn heading at 350, and then it will tell you on that heading you are clear for the ILS approach. So you do the turn at 350. As soon as you have wings level, you can go, or actually go legs page, put that point on top again, 304 again, on the intercept course. That's it. Execute. Now go LNAV. Now these will take the magenta. You see, it's turning now to intercept the magenta. That's the beautiness, because we are very far from the runway. So we don't want to hit the approach mode too early. And now you can start as well with the flap 1 maybe. Start to slow down. You see, this is the beautiness of extending the center line. When they give you a very long final and you cannot press approach because you are outside the 17 nautical miles, you can use this extended centerline function. And then once you have wings level, you can use LNAV, so the aircraft will track towards the runway. And then when you are within coverage, like now, 14 nautical miles, you can press approach, because now you are within coverage for the localizer and glide slope. And now is a normal approach. As a rate of descent, give at least 200 maybe, or 300. I don't know how much you have. 400. Okay. That's wrong. Why is climbing? You have a minus there.
Radio altimeter.
I have no idea why it left it in those.
Yeah.
It was the flap.
Probably the flaps, yes.
Yeah, but you should counteract. You should counteract
it. It shouldn't do ballooning like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zibo worked on the glide slope interception because the ballooning, you know, is present. He knew about it. I knew about it. So it's just, again, it's a little bit of tuning that needs to happen. Work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
now he's fairly.
Yeah, the way he's talking to me in the background, I think Zibo is watching. So, you know, because you know what happened here. So then he's anyway seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah, that extended center line is really, really important on very short, on very long final. Think about airport like Madrid, Athens, Lisbon. Sometimes they give you vectors, but the vector you really, really outside the 17 nautical miles from the runway. So you are not allowed to use the approach mode, even to arm it outside the 17 nautical miles, because you are outside the coverage. So you want to use first this extended center line, so the aircraft will track inbound the runway, and then once you are within the coverage, you can use it. You can use approach.
Flaps 15 set.
It is still ballooning a little bit. You see, every time the flaps go out, it lifts.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's should not. The autopilot will counteract that much better. Yeah. Yeah, you got the glide slope, so you can set the missed approach.
Dero, I don't think Sasso's looking at the screen there where you're typing. He's got a story there on YouTube. Whoa. On YouTube, just Dero's got a story there.
No, unfortunately, I'm not looking at YouTube. I'm here on Discord.
Okay, well, my hands are full. I'll quickly try and read here. He says, current mod turns toward the airport when a lock diamond becomes visible.
Look at the glide. Wait, Nico. That's the flaps are completely out of sequence here. No, the flap are wrong completely. The flap.
No, but this is not the flaps. Sasso, it did the same to me, the 7.0.
Disconnect, Nico, disconnect, because you're gonna go up for
I'm busy talking to Zibo. I can't do everything at once. Hold on. I'm good at doing miracles. It's the impossible that takes a little longer. Just bear with me.
Reduce that rate. Reduce that rate.
Yeah, come.
I don't know, I saw it that when you went for flap landing flap, basically the ballooning effect put the aircraft away from the glide slope. So you lost the glide slope. Correct. So the whole thing started with the flap extension.
Yes.
So the lift coefficient given by the flap extension is completely wrong. Either it's too much, or the autopilot is not able to cope with it, which is not what should happen, of course.
Look, he worked on the glide slope code, which is why I'm saying again, it's just about tuning now. It's just about tuning.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
500.
But I don't know if this was regarding the glide slope system. This was mainly a problem of lift coefficient.
I got
think,
it. I
given by the
understand.
flap.
I understand, but let me rephrase then what I said. He's working on the approach. And the approach will include flaps, it will include speed, it will include all kinds of things, you know, so...
100.
Apologies guys, if 7.1 is going to do that to you, but obviously it will get fixed.
That's a nice blending.
Yeah.
Reverse unlocked. Auto brake in use.
It's already released, Krister. The updated one to what I have here, it's already released, it's available. You just don't have to install it. Okay.
Mr. Sergeant, new control responses feel pretty damn good. Nice.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Sergeant.
You are professional.
I don't remember her name, but anyway. She's on 3, using the Zibo anyway.
Okay. Zibo is typing, I just want to see what he says.
7.2 is coming.
No, he says he already fixed it in 7.1. Remember, I'm using 7.1 alpha. I'm the beta tester, guys. Hello.
Oh man.
You know, he says it works better in 7.1. So Krister, go test it.
Oh, come on, go take this aircraft on the air again.
Yes.
With 7.1.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick end flying.
And he says he'll tune it even better for you guys in 7.2. Okay, but he says it's better in 7.1 than what I have, and he'll make it even better in 7.2.
Well, yeah, Zibo, I love this thing. I would love to end fly the aircraft.
Jacob, it won't do that. Sorry, go ahead.
I would love to end fly the Zibo in reality.
Oh yeah.
I would love it.
Tell you what, it's a pleasure right now to fly with hand.
I know.
After landing procedure. After landing procedure. Come on, Linda. Don't do this. It's now happening more often. She doesn't hear me say those
she's
words.
No, she's on strike. She's on strike. December is the month.
Procedure.
But it's always this one. And look, I moved my mic. This whole Microsoft speech engine is very sensitive when where I put my mic and stuff like that. It's actually irritating. Thank you, Dan.
After landing procedure complete.
Dave, yeah, thank you. It is very informative. I tell you what, when all of us get together here, it's a party sometimes, man. We really get deep into things, and it's nice to have you guys here adding to the chat and all. But, I've mentioned it twice already. Just want to mention it verbally now as well. The guys on Discord are looking at my screen on Discord, so they don't see all your questions and your chat. Okay, so if there's something important, I'll do my best to relay it, but I can't always do it. Okay, so just remember that. Right, okay, well, that should be it. Let's get rid of all the other stuff. Let's go. Yeah, interesting. Go enjoy, Rob. Zibo's typing again. Zibo. Zibo, okay. Let me just go and check on my wife quickly. If she says it's okay, I'll do another flight. Otherwise, we'll have to
We can do a quick circuit if you want. If you don't have much time, Nico, we can do a quick circuit. You can spool up on the runway. We just do a bit of takeoff, manual flight, and then
we can
back
do that.
to throttle
We
left.
can do that. Okay, Sasso to the rescue.
Yeah, no problem. We can do it.
I'm typing to him, I'm not checking.
Not gonna take much if we do just a circuit.
Okay, we can do that.
But just don't load Linda. I'm gonna be your Linda.
Okay, I'll use the other model then. Hello, Rafael.
Use myself as a plugin.
Zibo says it's okay. Dave? Nah. I can't tell you. I think my wife will be more angry with me if she knows I bought Linda a Christmas present. We don't talk about the girlfriend in public. Paul, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time for that.
Okay.
Is Sasso still there? Sasso, are you still there?
Yeah, he's still here.
Yeah,
I have a question for Sasso.
Yeah.
What type of interfaces are you using with people? I mean, what kind of controllers?
I used to have, joystick. The Microsoft. Can you remember the joystick that was published in 2004? The Microsoft Force Feedback.
Sidewinder.
Yeah, the Sidewinder.
The Sidewinder.
Sidewinder 2 with the electricity cable as well.
Okay.
To have the feedback
There's a good example of the variation in controllers that we're trying to deal with. Because obviously, when you're flying the Zibo mod, part of the sensation of feel is related to that stick, or my yoke, and the model itself, the flight model itself. So I'm always interested to hear feedback on the sensation, how it feels to you. But when you're using a force feedback stick, depending on how sophisticated it is, it may or may not be giving the kind of control that you want. So, and this is something that I've been dealing with a lot. The basic flight model, we can create certain responses and certain ratios but the bottom line is, in the end, right, as many have heard me say before, it's a combination of the controllers you're using and the model itself as to what the result will be. And I don't know how we can really address this other than we have to find a way to both make the flight model behave predictably, but at the same time allow individual users who have different preferences to be able to extract the kind of quote-unquote feel that they're looking for. Because now, obviously, recently, Zibo came up with the curves in the EFB that automatically change the offset curve. How has that affected your ability to, or are you using it right now?
The problem is that, Twister, I'm not able at the moment to use any simulator. I just don't have time. And as well, I don't even have the joystick here with me at the moment. So it's been a while now since I used the Zibo myself. So, yeah, complicated.
Yeah, well, I can understand that when you're, displaced from your normal, and I understand that you're, due to job requirements here in a different situation right now. Here's an example of what I try. One of the things that I fight with trying to get a proper sense of how the flight model, quote unquote, feels, and that is, I was just looking at my old. I used to travel with. I'd go on the road when I was living in Asia. If I went on a trip and I was sitting in a hotel somewhere, I would get out my laptop and I would load X-Plane up, and I actually took my stick in my bag with me. I had a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, which is a pretty common basic stick, and I would carry that in my bag, and I would work on the flight modeling on my laptop. But that particular stick, just as an example, if I push the stick to the side, it has about a 20-degree angle of max deflection, roughly, right?
Yeah.
So, on the other hand, I have the Boeing the CH product, the Thrustmaster, excuse me, Boeing here, and that's what I use now. If I don't use my real sim, where I've got a full control column in it, but for modeling at the desktop, I'm using this Boeing yoke, and it has about an 85-degree roll off center, almost like the real airplane, which is about 95 degrees. Right?
Yes.
So now here's the two things. When we look at this, and I try to explain sometimes to people the difference in modeling field.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Exactly.
Because it comes down to the hardware you're going to use.
Yeah, the amount of deflection. And so if my ratio to deflection is only 20 degrees from 0 to maximum in a stick, and yet in my yoke, if I go to 85, that's more than 4 times the difference in deflection to get the same roll response. So what we end up with is the stick feels overly sensitive, yet the guy who's using a yoke that has up to 90 degrees of rotation, it feels really good because he's using it something more like the real airplane in deflection. So this is very hard to model in a way that for everybody we get the same results. And that's why we also need to be able to tune it to our individual taste to some degree. The problem with that is when we tune it in the flight controls, as we've been discussing over the last few weeks, when we tune the flight controls to feel good to us, that interacts with the way Zibo tunes the AutoFlight system, and then the AutoFlight system, the tuning on that gets thrown off by the fact that we've changed the qualities of our stick. And a lot of people say, well, the two aren't related, AutoFlight. But the point is that in the model itself, in the flight modeling, due to the way Lambert designed it, the actual deflection of the controllers themselves is part of the channel used for AutoFlight. So we have a kind of a conundrum there where if we allow the individuals, and this is Zibo's point, and he's right, that if we allow every individual to tune his controllers to his individual liking, then the AutoFlight system isn't going to perform correctly. And he's chasing constantly how to tune it to allow for differences in individual controllers. So it's interesting. That's why I asked that question is, kind of, I really care a lot about what actual real, whether you're flying the 737 as you are, I am not, right? My Boeing experience is not in the 737. I have 727 and 747. The rest of my career, I had some Douglas DC-8, and I had mostly business jets. I've got, 6 different business jets on my license. So, and they all fly like jets, but they all have unique characters, right? So, getting the feedback from guys like yourself in the finer minutia of handling is really important for me, because I really care a lot to try and make the Zibo model as close as we can to what the real airplane does, within the limitations of using artificial control inputs. and not having all of the benefits of motion and G loads and all that crap. So, you know, so any of your feedback on that stuff is well received, because that helps me to try and design in characteristics into the flight model that fairly closely represent the airplane, at least within the limitations that we don't have your particular controller in hand, right? So, but I don't know how in the end we will end up doing that, but you know, I know that a lot of the users are not pilots, they're enthusiasts who don't fly for, or may not even had flying lessons at all. There's a whole spectrum of people, right? From, you know, from the pure gamer all the way through the pure enthusiast that doesn't fly, up through the enthusiast who's also a pilot, and those that are also professional pilots, you know, flying transport category airplanes. So
on runway 2,
that has always been the goal, is try to, you know, meet those needs of all of those users, but at the same time, you know, the accuracy of the Zibo mod is one of the allures of it. It's, you know, if it flies like the real airplane as close as possible, that's our goal, and within limits. And
absolutely,
you know, so I really want to hear that stuff. If you have critical input, absolutely, I'm more than happy to hear it.
Yeah. Nico, I can see there is, I don't know if the airline simmer is here watching your stream. I might try to answer quickly the difference between basic and common VNAV.
Go do that.
I don't know if he's here.
That's fair. Fine. You can do it for the rest of the society that's here.
Yeah. So basically, this common VNAV thing has been introduced with the Boeing 8200 with the 737 MAX. Now, VNAV, we know that. Let's talk about the basic VNAV first. So the basic VNAV, which is the old system, basically what he will do, he will calculate the top of the sand backwards from the missed approach point. Okay, so imagine that in the ideal world, VNAV think that you are alone in the sky. So it will create the ideal path to respect the speed and altitude restriction for the star, backwards from the missed approach point up to the top of the sand in cruise. All right. Now, this top of the sand is going to vary based on the target speed you're going to maintain in the descent path. Let's imagine we are going to do a descent at 250 knots. Okay, this is a given speed from your cost index. So 250 knots is going to be top of the sand. Now, if we miss the top of the sand for some reason, because we are not alone in the sky, and so ATC will not give us the descent, we are going to start to be above the path. So now, the aircraft will either go into AutoOrtho VNAV, depends on the software installed, and now when you start the descent, you are going to be above profile. With the basic VNAV, if you engage a VNAV during the descent, let's imagine we are now 3,000 feet above the path because of a delayed descent, the problem with that is that the aircraft will dive down for the path. We will do nothing else than heads down, try to recap, to regain the original path. This, of course, will have a problem, because your speed is going to go mad high. You're going to dive down for the path. That's what Boeing decided to create this common VNAV. So the common VNAV now will recognize this situation, and if you are more than 200 feet away from the profile, in other words, 200 feet or more above the path, above the original path, if you hit the VNAV, VNAV will transition automatically into VNAV speed and will maintain an idle descent at the target speed for descent. In other words, if you don't do anything, it will just parallel the original path without never meet each other. Okay? So now you have to do something to regain the path, the original one, either using the speed brake or creating a new path with an higher speed. in the descent. So the common VNAV is this kind of backup system that will not dive for the path anymore. And for this reason is much more safe in terms of speed control. That's all it is.
Jacob, I'm not worried about any of that at this point in time. I'm just enjoying myself. Sasso's talking away. I'm just here fiddling. Sasso, I'm in a very warped circuit. So anyway, I'm just fiddling a little bit here while you're talking.
You're doing the circuit?
Yeah, I just took off. I'm busy horsing around here in the air, waiting for better
but with
days.
the 7.1 or 7.2,
yeah,
whatever the number is.
The one that was released.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you want to stream so we can have a look at the glide problem or the flaps problem or whatever it is.
Yeah, but I don't want to do the flaps. I don't have time. All we want to do is literally just go back onto the glide slope.
Yeah. But that's it. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's what we're going to do. So if you just go, you have the autopilot engaged. You can engage the autopilot.
Hold on.
Just use a basic mode. They didn't select alt all, they will do. Ooh.
Perfect 99. I know it's a warp twisted little mangle.
Oh, it's just it's because you were in auto.
No, forget that. No. I've been horsing around. I've just been playing.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, Sasso, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you were just talking about with basic versus the common VNAV. And I think that's the basis for the comment you made about at top of descent that it shouldn't have dove for the flight path, because if he's in common VNAV, it should have limited the speed. Is that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, that's what you were referring to as far as
absolutely. That's the common VNAV. Yeah.
So that wasn't a flight model issue. That was a common VNAV modeling issue.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave. You too.
Okay, thanks for clarification.
That's no problem. Okay, Nico, what's the platform altitude? Is it still 2,300?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same place then. Okay, good. So start the descent, 3,000 feet in level change, 220 knots. That's it. Now let's see. I'm expecting 1,800, 1,900 feet a minute, no more than that. Gear to off, auto brake to 3. Set a random minima just to have a call out. Frequency minima courses.
I can do you one better. I can use the actuals.
Oh. That's it. That's a good rate. 900. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's start the left turn now. 060.
Okay, I just want to make one comment to Steve on the chat there in the stream. I studied electrical engineering. I can draw you a circuit in many forms. Oval is just, one of them. Just FYI. Okay, go ahead.
Is the ILS the correct frequency?
Let's check. It should be, yes.
Okay, good. Now, next page, just have that flap again on top. Don't extend, just have
wait.
whatever the point was.
I'm not in the right page, sorry. Okay.
Egg bay on top. Yeah, that will do. Okay, just execute. But maintain the heading. Okay, turn left heading 030.
Thought you'd like
okay.
that. 030, sorry.
Make it 020. 020.
Okay.
020 on the heading. Okay, now match the up speed. So reduce to the up speed.
Yeah, wait, my keyboard's in the way. I need to twist this thing. There you go.
Okay, now vertical speed, 300 feet a minute in the descent, and descend 2,300.
300
now,
and 2,500.
Wonderful. Left heading 350 degrees.
Right.
Okay, we are at 18 nautical miles. Okay, flap 1, match the speed. Now let's have a look what he does. Let's have a look at these autopilots. You see, the problem is still there. It's cancelling the descent. That's not good. That's not good. Zibo, it has to be less effective. You should maintain the descent, you see? It basically level off. Instead, when you call out for the flaps, you should maintain the descent. Let's go, Nico, 500 feet a minute. 500 feet a minute. Left heading 320 degrees. Flap 5, match speed. Let's have a look at that rate. It's 500 now, 450, 400, you see, it's leveling off. That's wrong, Zibo. The aircraft should continue the descent, especially in vertical speed. That momentarily level off is wrong. Arm only the localizer, Nico, please.
Yeah.
Only the lock. No, only the lock. That's it. Now vertical speed reduce 200 feet a minute. That's it. Now continue the descent 1,200. Just don't want to level off. It's 1,200. I will do. Okay. Let's see what happened. You see, he's maintaining a level flight for some reason, but we have minus 200. Now he's starting again a kind of descent. Okay, make the right turn, heading at 330.
330.
Correct, 330. Okay. Okay, now it's kind of maintaining the rate of descent. I think it's just the flaps going to be mad. Let's wait for the lock to come. We have 15 nautical miles, we have plenty of time. Let's see what he does when he captures the lock. We are basically coming back on path as well, which is good. Just give 300 feet a minute on the vertical speed. I want to see how precise it is with that vertical speed. It's coming quite nicely now. You see, it's all stable. The problem is as soon as you touch the flap.
Yeah, then we balloon.
Yeah, that's too much. It's too strong, the effect.
Hey, Sasso.
Yeah?
That is a excellent question. I have been of that opinion that the ballooning is too much myself, but it's been one of the things I haven't gotten a lot of feedback on. You know, and it's kind of abstract. It's an observation. How long should it? You know, when I go to, especially like going to flaps 5, right?
You know,
that seems
I mean,
where we get the biggest.
Yeah, but I mean, you would have the ballooning, but if you are in manual flight and you don't do anything, you are gonna start a climb. But if you have the autopilot engaged, like in this case, the autopilot will do the job for you. That's what I mean. So
Yeah, it should have enough authority to overcome the ballooning tendency, is what you're saying. But I can make that better by reducing the ballooning authority. I do have some control over that.
We need less ballooning. Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Ballooning is too strong.
Yeah, there's a setting I can use. There's a setting I can use to cause it to resist the ballooning action with increasing flap settings. So I can tune that a little bit. That may also help Zibo with tuning the auto flight.
Now, let's have a look when we drop the gear and flap 15. Let's see what happens. So let's wait for the lock first. I want to have him into the lock. And then I want to see, maintaining 300 feet a minute, what's going to happen with the gear drop. So gear to off, Nico. That's it. Now, let's have a look. The lock is coming. Perfect. Arm approach. Good. Now, gear down and flap 15. Okay, reduce the speed. You see, now it's better. Okay? But you see, it's still climbing now. This is wrong. This is wrong. And the speed will not increase. No, this is wrong. If the aircraft pitch up and you are reducing the speed will not bloody increase. Alright? So, no. There is a problem there with the lift coefficient. It's not even the ballooning effect, it's the lift coefficient of the flap, which is wrong. Now, go for flap 30 or whatever you want. Yeah, let's have a look what it does on the glide. I'm expecting to have the same problem as before, Nico. So, flaps 30, that's the speed coming back, that's good. Missed approach altitude set, Nico. See, it's maintaining the glide a bit better, but definitely with what I've seen with flap 15 is completely wrong. Because we got a nose up, we started actually a climb, and the speed was increasing as well, which is completely unrealistic, because with flap 15 you start to have lots of drag out. So actually this will bleed off your speed. You will not get an increase in speed. The glide, maintaining the glide is a bit better, but I think there's still some problem with the lift coefficient there.
Well, look at the engine. It spools up, spools down, spools up, spools down. So it's like it's giving too much thrust, then too little thrust, then too much thrust, then too little thrust.
Yeah.
And my levers are right there. They're just under 60%. Those are my real levers.
This is a lot. What's the weight? What's the weight of the aircraft?
63.1.
So 63 flaps 30, I would expect around 60%. That's a lot of dust. Well, we have 30 knots ahead, but...
Yeah, but
now let's try... Yeah.
The throttles were very busy there.
Yeah.
100.
Oh, you have no speed brake, Nico, so just do a firm landing.
30.
Will work anyway, no worries.
10.
Nice.
384, then 180. Oh, this thing is confused. It doesn't know what it wants.
It's just manual braking, eh? Manual braking.
Manual braking.
Yeah, that, no, those flaps was wrong. The flap 15 especially was completely the opposite of what I would expect. Because flap 15 means, even gear down and flap 15 means a lot of drag out. You are not gonna see an increase in thrust, no at all, no chance. Yeah, so that one has to be changed.
Okay, I did tell Zibo you made a couple of good comments here, so I hopefully he watches the end of the stream.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he will pick it up. If he watched the gear down and flap 15 moment, is completely the opposite of what should happen. So, yeah. Oh well. Was a good session, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for watching, but I'm going to be in the doghouse if I don't go now. So you guys must have fun. We'll talk again in the week. Okay. Cheers, everybody, and thank you for watching and support. Bye, bye, everybody. Bye, Twixter. Bye, Sasso, and everybody else.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye.
Take care.